Oops. Well, hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm trying something new. You know, I always like to try something new. I like to make sure that I've got everything working. So hopefully you're with me today. If not, I apologize. Yes, so I hope everything is looking all right. I hope that you can hear me as well. I've had some issues with my speakers, so I've had to actually now put in some external speakers so I can hear stuff, and I hope it doesn't mess up anything too far. So we want to talk about journalism and social media, because in Australia at the moment there's a big court case, and it's actually come under an unfair dismissal case between an independent journalist that was on a contract for 5 days and the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which is the government-run one. And what is very interesting is that Fair Work had decided that, yes, she was unfairly dismissed, and the ABC said, well, no, we paid her out of her contract, so it doesn't count. So hence why we are now back in the federal court, and for the court to decide whether or not it's unfair dismissal. So we have a journalist that was employed on the national broadcaster to cover a spot. I can't remember if it was TV or radio. I'm not sure. So what's happened was she posted something that was deemed to be pro-Palestinian. So as you know, everything that's happening in the Gaza at the moment is very, very volatile. My whole thing is I tend to stay away from that opinion, from even talking about it, just because it's such a hotly contested. It's so hotly contested. But she posted something, and there's questions about whether the source that she used to quote from is reliable, whether she has breached any policies. Independent journalists that do work for another business, do they follow the editorial guidelines? How does this all work? So there is a whole pile of different scenarios. So it's hit day 3 today. And I'm going from The Guardian. Now, the ABC has reported on it, I guess, to be independent. But I thought The Guardian would be the most neutral, because they don't have a dog in this fight. And so I thought it would make sense to see what The Guardian has to say about this, because I'm just trying to get rid of my I don't want me here. I want this. There we go. I can be in the corner. So this is 5 things. So this is from The Guardian. This was yesterday. 5 things we've learned this week from Antoinette Lattouf is how they're calling her in court. Alleged unfair dismissal case against the ABC. She was cross-examined for 5 hours over 2 days, and they brought in her drinking habits. They brought in her doctor's appointments, psychologist appointments, psychiatric thing, because they want to prove that she is not a credible witness. This should bring some red flags to another journalist that's going through, an alleged journalist going through a defamation case, because all of this could be done. They talked about they've talked about, a whole pile of stuff that I don't think should be brought into it, but it's about trying to show that the witness is not credible. So it began in Sydney, and she was the first witness, and she worked as a casual presenter on ABC Radio Sydney in December 2023. She was taken off air 3 days into a 5-day contract after she posted on social media about the Israel-Gaza war. Last year, the Fair Work Commission found she was sacked from the casual presenting role, but the ABC argued at the commission that Lattouf was not sacked because she was paid for a full 5 days of her contract. So the ABC is saying, yes, we pulled her off the air. She didn't do any further work with us, but it's okay. We paid her out. So therefore, you can't tell us that it was an unfair dismissal. But the commission disagreed with that. So she was cross-examined. So these are some of the things that came about from this. I don't want to be the poster girl. She told the court that she never wanted to be the face of all this. When asked by the counsel for the ABC, Ian Neil, what she meant, she said, ongoing litigation, continually lied about, defamed, derided by the new chair of ABC at the National Press Club, had the most horrible mischaracterizations about me in the Murdoch press. I don't want any of this. I shared a Human Rights Watch post. So this is the thing. She shared a post from the Human Rights Watch, which is a website. Now, she actually said under oath that, and I've been watching this, so this is why I can say it, that a lot of journalists will go to the Human Rights Watch webpage as a first place for news stories on things that happen around the world. So this is the Human Rights Watch page here. So it is deemed by journalists around the world as a credible source. So it says, we investigate human rights abuses globally. They publish their findings, share stories of those affected by abuses, and speak out against injustice. We mobilize the public and press governments to enforce rights, respecting laws, change policy, and deliver justice. So this is the website. So she shared a post from them. Now, I don't know, the post and everything's been shared. I don't want to go into what was necessarily shared, but she was pro-Palestine, and there was complaints from the ABC about the view about what she shared. So again, so this is the thing. So they have said that, hello, Cal, a lot of the journalists will actually look at this Human Rights Watch page to get information for stories. So she shared something from that page, is what she said, which is a credible news source, which is what she's saying. She said one of the ways in which she was derided in public was when the ABC chair, Kim Williams, denied the findings of the Fair Work Commission at the National Press Club in November last year. Lattouf said Williams told the press club she wasn't sacked, and went on to take swipes at her for publicity surrounding the case. He spoke with derision in his voice towards me at the National Press Club, live streamed on TV, she told the court. Okay, another argument is whether it was a directive or a suggestion. So at the heart of the case seems to be the question about whether Lattouf was given a directive by the ABC bosses not to post on social media, which she then breached by sharing a Human Rights Watch post, or if it was merely a suggestion that she keep a low profile on social media. Now, she is alleging that she was told to keep a low profile, that she was never actually told she couldn't post on social media, but she had to keep a low profile. Neil spent a long time quizzing Lattouf on exactly what she remembers being said to her by Elizabeth Green, the ABC manager, whom Lattouf says spoke to her about complaints the ABC had received. Did Green really use the word heaps of complaints? Neil asked Lattouf. Lattouf said she couldn't recall the exact words. Elizabeth called and says, I want to give you the heads up. The ABC has been flooded with complaints from pro-Israel lobbyists because we have put you on air, Lattouf told the court. In one of the most emotional moments of her testimony, Lattouf tearfully recounted the moment she was told by Steve Ahern, who was then ABC's acting of the Capital City Networks, to collect her things and leave the building. Lattouf said that Elizabeth Green was waiting for her by the lifts, and the two women went into a nearby room and cried. Lattouf agreed that Green had not been there to supervise her departure from the building, but to comfort her. She was crying and I was crying, said Lattouf. She has always been caring and fair. We were both sobbing and trying to digest what had happened. Lattouf claims Green told her that the bosses had tried to get rid of her on Tuesday and that Green had fought to stop them. Lattouf claims Green told her that the Human Rights Watch post had been considered to be unbalanced. Lattouf said that she told Green, I just shared a human rights post like we agreed, and had asked her, how do you make starvation balanced? But Neil put to Lattouf that she didn't have an understanding with Green. She never agreed with you earlier that week that you could post the story that wasn't balanced. Do you agree? It's an outlandish proposition, is it not, that you and Miss Green agreed that you post something that wasn't balanced? So the ABC has apparently their policy says that anything that's posted should be balanced. And so the allegation is that what Lattouf shared was unbalanced. So Neil laid out some of Lattouf's career achievements in her year since her removal from the ABC, including the receipt of Liberty Victoria's Voltaire Human Rights Award for 2024, launching a student journalism conference and attracting more followers on social media. So the allegation is that she has benefited a lot from the publicity from the ABC. Take it or leave it. She courted media attention, in part focusing on conduct about, for now she complains, he told the court, adding that Lattouf's claim she had suffered hurt and distress as a result of ABC's conduct needs to be evaluated skeptically against the use she has made of the conduct. Under re-examination, Lattouf was asked by her barrister, Oshie Feguer, does being the poster girl for justice and humanity or a free and fair press pay very well? She laughed, no, punitive. Why do you say punitive? Because you get punished and lose work, she added, adding that she had one speaking gig lined up in the coming year and had multiple engagements cancelled without explanation. Lattouf added she had been told by a former agent she was pretty much unemployable. I did not make this public. I've done everything to salvage my reputation because I'm not insubordinate. I know how to follow editorial policy, she said. So now we get into the bit where they've really tried hard to discredit her testimony. Towards the end of her testimony, Lattouf was quizzed by Neil about a psychiatric examination undertaken in 2024 regarding the emotional toll she'd suffered since the events of December 2023. In tears, she told the court that she told the doctor that she'd previously been a social drinker and she'd recently become a heavier drinker and on occasions drunk to the point of passing out, that she was more reliant on sleeping aids and had become fearful to be in public. The doctor gave evidence via video link, said Lattouf told him sometimes she has a cup of vodka to sleep and has been using cannabis every 2 months. Lattouf said she'd also become far more fearful in the last year, recalling an occasion where she thought she'd been followed in the street by someone in her car. Thought I was being followed. I ran into a cafe. Asked if these fears were new. Lattouf told the court I've never been scared to be in public the way I have been now. So it's interesting because then that became a headline. So this is Lattouf. This is her lawyers. She said that she's also received abusive emails. She's received threats. She made a statement to police and received a call from New South Wales Police saying that they had identified the sender. Lattouf told the court she believes some APCB presenters were not expected to be impartial and were not held to the same standard she was. She cited ABC radio presenter Craig Casullo made a documentary about recycling, Annabelle Crabb and Julia Baird, who commented publicly about domestic violence or the need for gender equity, and Virginia Trioli, who posted on social media about attending a No More Violence rally. So it's a very interesting case. Then we get to today. So Antoinette Lattouf, ABC managing director. So quite a few of the big wigs from the ABC have now had to give evidence. Ita Buttrose gave evidence as well. The managing director of the ABC has told the court he believes Australia is a racist country during questions about the alleged double standards at the public broadcaster over its presenters airing personal opinions. While giving evidence at the federal court on Wednesday to the unlawful termination case brought by former radio presenter Antoinette Lattouf, the outgoing managing director of the ABC, David Anderson, said, "We have racism in our country. I don't know how you can deny racism in this country." Now, remember, she's a freelance journalist. So during cross-examination of Anderson, Lattouf's barrister, Oshie Faguer, raised the case of the ABC 7:30 program chief political correspondent, Laura Tingle, telling a writers' festival Australia is a racist country. Anderson agreed that Tingle had not been taken off air, but she was sanctioned for the statements that she made at the festival about the opposition leader. Anderson told the court he regarded her statement about racism as impartial and based on fact. Since colonialism, there has been racism in this country, and again, that's backed up by weight of evidence. I believe it's impartial. It's an impartial statement. I have no problem with that statement because it's all based on fact that we have a history of racism. The questions emerged during the discussion about alleged double standards, where some ABC presenters were allowed to express personal, impartial views, while others not. Faguer put to Anderson, Miss Lattouf can't make a public statement which is not impartial, but Laura Tingle can. That's the fact of the matter, isn't it? It was a different matter, Anderson said. It was dealt with at the time. The court heard other examples of purportedly partial statements made by high-profile ABC presenter. It was put to Anderson that former Media Watch host Paul Barry tweeted, "Israel is killing journalists again," and was not subject to any sanctions. Anderson told the court he was not aware of the tweet. Anderson was also told about the Global Affairs editor John Lyons, Q&A host Patrick Cavallis, and ABC chair Kim Williams. Anderson said that each situation is evaluated independently and in context. There'll be more cross-examination on Thursday. So Lattouf had received death threats. She was selected due to part to the diversity policy. On Wednesday, the federal court outlined its chronologically of the case. Neil said Lattouf presented her first show on Monday, the 18th of December. Within 90 minutes of her coming off air, the ABC started getting complaints. Anderson forwarded some of those complaints to the chief content officer and the acting editorial director with the request to investigate the matter. The court was told, Anderson wrote in the email, "Can we ensure that Antoinette is not and has not been posting anything that would suggest she is not impartial? I am concerned her public views may mean she's in conflict with our own editorial process." Anderson was asked why Lattouf was selected as a fill-in host. The then manager of the ABC radio, Steve Ahern, who hired Lattouf for the casual shifts, wrote to Anderson that Lattouf had been identified as a potential future presenter for ABC Radio. Her background is Lebanese Christian. She grew up in Western Sydney, the child of Lebanese immigrants, he wrote. She's been selected in part having regard to the ABC diversity policy. Now that's really interesting. So she got selected because of the diversity aspect of it. So she posted a human rights report on Instagram detailing the Human Rights Watch's findings that the Israel military was using starvation as a weapon of war in Gaza. Lattouf added the words on her post, HRW reporting starvation as a tool of war. The ABC had covered the Human Rights Watch report as a news story online. So again, if the broadcaster had actually reported on that article and she's reposted the article, therefore, should there be justification in termination at the issue of the court? So it's very interesting. So, and that had gone to mediation. So this is where sources and journalism, it can be very, very interesting. Particularly when, I mean, if the judge turns around and says, well, I don't think human rights is a reputable organization, then journalists will have to get their sources from somewhere else. So this is the ABC's report on it. ABC Managing Director David Anderson gives evidence at the Antoinette Lattouf court case. So remember, they are in this legal battle at the moment, and they have to report impartially. Okay, that's what they're supposed to do. So let's see how we go here. So essentially, she's alleging that it was the lobbyists that are the reason why she was no longer able to keep her job. During the courts Wednesday, asked Mr. Anderson if he had any regrets about the way that ABC handled the matter. I personally believe there was a step missing with regard to this, but it might have had the same ending. So you're asking me and I'm answering honestly. I think there's a step in the middle, a discussion with Ms. Lattouf, and to ensure that they've sought the right advice from employee relations and people and culture as part of the decision. Now, interesting, that phrase alone indicates that maybe they were a little bit hasty in dismissing her, and it may sway his honour to say she was unfairly dismissed if he's admitted. So because Mr. Anderson, who's the managing director at the time, saying the outcome may have been the same, but we've missed a step. Is that admitting liability? I don't know. It was a very interesting phrase to say. So these are the people that were in court that have to give evidence. So there were emails between Mr. Anderson, former Chief Content Officer Chris Oliver Taylor, and former Chair Ida Buttrose. Her socials are full of anti-Semitic hatred, Mr. Anderson said to have written in a text message. Content executive was decision maker. So they're saying it was a decision maker. The decision maker was a content executive, not the proper person. Presenting morning program on ABC Sydney is a high profile role, but if she's only doing it on a temporary basis for a week, wouldn't be reasonable to expect all of the previous social media activity would necessarily adhere to the guidelines. Now that's a really interesting thing. If you get a job for a week, does that mean that if you're going to have to take your socials down or change your socials to adhere to the policies? We're not suggesting she's breached those guidelines, rather making the point the ABC ought to have taken a reasonable approach based on the facts that she's only in this role now. After reviewing Mr. Lattouf's social media on Monday night, Mr. Neal told the court that Mr. Oliver Taylor was said to have messaged Mr. Anderson. I think this is hugely problematic. It's a reputational issue, and clearly we need to research anyone as a replacement presenter. Of course, they've done the editorial policies training, and in Justin's note to new staff, the perception people impartiality is as important as their adherence to policies. Dear Ita, Antoinette will finish up on Friday. It is a managed exit given the situation. I can explain more tomorrow. I plan to respond to all who have emailed on Friday afternoon, he said in the email. So, yeah. So they actually have been, the ABC and the Guardian have both been doing live. They were both doing live updates. So that is where we are at the moment. Oh. So yeah. So now I want to look at another journalist, one a little bit less credible that I haven't spoken about at all in this. Wowzers. I haven't spoken about in this stream today because I haven't. It's just depressed me. She says book claims that they hadn't decorated for Christmas yet prior to Stephen's passing. Christmas yet prior to Stephen's passing, but this video shows the family decorating their home. What? I don't understand. Is it their house or is it somebody else's house? So she's obviously now going through the book and picking it apart. Calls Stephen's death the most shameful act of his life. However, Stephen's family insisted on the open casket citing African-American tradition. I tried to reason with Stephen's mother. Funerals are to honour the dead, not mollify the living. Did she really believe that Stephen would want his loved one's last image of him to reflect the trauma of the most shameful act of his life? I reasoned that Stephen wouldn't have wanted her or anybody to see him like that. And anybody who didn't know Stephen, she was unmoved. Calls Stephen's death the most shameful act of his life. Yeah. Well, for a lot of people, that's what they can. I mean, we do know that unaliving oneself is deemed to be a very selfish act. And in fact, in Australia, we've just had three high-profile sports people pass. One passed of cancer. The others, it is believed to have been by their own hand. And it is a very selfish act. I mean, that's a fact because there's so much pain left behind. But the fact that they're high-profile sports people, I think, highlights that we need to do more, particularly when they retire, to ensure that they can go back into society. We see it a lot in the military as well, where the military people struggle to reacclimatize back to normal life, real life. So she alleges Ellen DeGeneres told a packed crowd at Stephen's celebration of life that she was mad at Stephen for taking his own life. Speaking from the heart, Wesley shared some of her favourite moments of time spent with Stephen, but also said she was really upset with him for what he did. It was heartbreaking to see someone I love so much bear so much weight and strength for so many people. But her poise and bravery left me profoundly proud to be a mother. She told everyone the last thing Stephen said to her about wanting to be her Superman. Some people might have chuckled because that was such a Stephen thing to say. But I hope they recognise that Wesley will have to carry the weight of that sentence with her forever. I believe he said what he did to her because he wanted to be honest. That's the kind of relationship they had. But let's face it, what he said cuts deep. I hope she's not destined to go through life wondering if she might have said or done anything to alter the chain of events. Ellen DeGeneres, too, spoke about with raw honesty, voicing out loud the anger that many in the building were feeling. She was the first person I heard say out loud how mad she was at Stephen for leaving us the way he did. By giving voice to her rage, she made it comfortable for everyone else, including me, to express. It says 2 minutes left in book, so she's obviously listening to an audio book. not reading them. Then she says she disgustingly implies that Stephen was a P because he alluded to being a SA in his children. What? It was a P because he alluded to being a SA in his children in his book. What? Few entries would allude to SA he endured as a child at the hands of an adult male. The trauma he detailed in strict confidence to his friend who relayed the conversation to me after Stephen's death. I don't expect I'll ever have a definitive answer, but from what he wrote on the page, I couldn't help but wonder, did the A happen when he was roughly the same age as Maddox? Did he, becoming a biological father, dislodge those buried memories of his childhood A? And did he worry that he was somehow fated to do to his son the same monstrous things he had done to him? She wasn't alluding to the fact she's not implying anything. These were her thought processes that when she found out what happened and at the same age as the child, that their thoughts, they're not. She writes that he might have himself because he may have wanted to SA children or his son. Well, let's see what she says. There's the answer by she had the details of A and the difficulties they had reconciling with the guardian. Stephen was sympathetic and supportive as always, but he never let on that he might be able to relate to the horrors. But it was there in his journal pages, not spelled out explicitly, but expressed in so many words and doodles that Stephen might have himself because he thought he was protecting us from an even more horrifying act he thought he might be capable of. Stephen's decision to take his own life made his death a profoundly difficult and complex situation. I felt abandoned, betrayed by the person I trusted the most, the one person in the world who had my best interests at heart, always. He had my back, yeah, he really did. I know he hurt me. I also know he loved me. I trusted him with every ounce of my being, and in the end, he betrayed that trust by disappearing on me. He had broken his vows in the most screw you way. The way Stephen loved us was so big, so his S came as a staggering grief tax. The grandeur of love and the greater the grief. I've come to view bereavement as the non-negotiable. And she's saying she destroys Stephen Boss's legacy with despicable accusations, apparently. And again, how does she know what's real and what's not? Interesting. Says Allison did not write about her serious drinking and drug problem in the book. And her, apparently, yeah. So, update. Source that worked on the Ellen show told me exclusively that Ellen did not say she was angry with Stephen for dying by... She had no rage, only frustration that he didn't call her or anyone, but maintains that Ellen had a deep empathy for pain Stephen must have endured in his final days. So, of course, she's now got to discredit everything. She's saying she's got a source, of course. So, all right, I know for a... Oh, here we go. Oops, we've got to go back there. I know for a fact Miranda and James lied in their depositions for their lawsuit against me. Alicia Presley-Lee wrote, 153 days until civil trial. Lots of lies have been said by 7M Shekinah members through social media and legal depositions, and the sermon recordings debunk all the lies. Robert should have thought this through. So far, the jury of public opinion have lots of opinions. Yeah, well, the jury of public opinion doesn't matter. It's the court of law that has. How does she know for a fact that Miranda and James lied? How does she know for a fact? That's a big claim to say, I know for a fact that they lied. Remember, it's a penalty of perjury. Oops, I've got a cat here. So, cat wanted to say hello. Yeah. You've got to get down, Cat. Um, so it's very interesting that she says she knows for a fact. She knows for a fact. I'm just having a look here. Gee, I've got to go back a long way. I haven't not paid much attention to her for a while. I mean, I'm really sorry. I've been living life. You know, I've been living life. So this was 2 weeks ago. Amazon is promoting her new book. She says what is most strange about Alison's book is that she did promotion on the book a month before its release. This is not typical. Generally, book releases are the most common time for People magazine to write a feature for the author. The choice to do an interview a month before is strange, and it's possible she was aware of the backlash that would be coming. So, yeah, interesting. So she's jumped on this. So she apparently deletes. So now, yeah. Colleen, who was publicly admitting that she spoke to a minor girl about a 21. So she's out to discredit. Oh, here we go. Yep, this is what we want. Let's see if I can hear it. Here we go. I need to go back and then go forward. Here we go. Now, I've got something to say about this too. Oops. So apparently this is on the new podcast. They're revealing clips of Robert directing his followers to a number of things to stop her. I plan to create. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I've not heard him say anything really weird about that. Oh, there is no sound? Okay. Oh, that would be right. Well, you haven't missed much then. Let me try this one. You tell me if there is any sound. This is the thing. I've had to change my system around. Try this. Can you hear that now? And I mean, I would have to say I've not heard Robert Shin's voice. So is it Robert Shin or is it an AI generated thing? I mean, I've seen AI at work and I'm very skeptical these days. No, you still can't hear it. Okay. That's why I think that's why I didn't use Stream. I stopped using StreamYard, I think. I mean, I stopped using Restream. There is captions down here. If I have to read them, I will. And the other thing is she's cut the audio, and so I don't know what's been said. I mean, it's so easy to cut audio so that you get your point of the basis of clapping and cheering him on is honestly insane. Well, that person's obviously not been to a Pentecostal church because there's lots of clapping and cheering in a Pentecostal church. And that's the thing that's annoying me about this audio is that it's just cut badly. Anyway. Alison, I'm writing this book to help people and to advocate. Also, Alison, let me tell you about the time I had relations with Stephen on the scaffolding above a stage. Also, Alison, this book will truly honour Stephen's legacy. Everyone, stop building your fame off Stephen, apparently. I'm going to stop sharing and reshare and see what happens here. Share tab. Yeah, share. Also share tab audio. Yes, also share tab audio. I want that. Let's see whether this works now.
We started doing the deed, and then all of a sudden security was like flashing their lights, like, who's up here? And we just froze. And then security couldn't see us for whatever reason. I don't know.
Now, what she said before the clip was that he told the story, that he had actually told the story. Stephen had told the story on the Ellen show, so that's why she shared it again, because he's already shared it. 2 months in the making. It's her Beth's birthday present ever. So she got a new lounge suite. Oh, cool. That's good. I must have just fixed. All right. So I'll go back. So she's talked about. So I'll go back to this again. Sorry. Where was it? Here we go. So let's have a listen to this audio again.
And Ko did a little tape on a video on if you're safe. And man, I was cracking up. Now, despite all the stuff going on, okay, I want you to do it with the idea that you're auditioning for the directors and producers of this world. Don't get too caught up in the emotions of the conflict. Okay? That you want to lash out. Well, you can still lash out with entertainment, with passion.
I mean, again, is this a sermon or is this a pep talk? again, I've got no context.
And yet, impress people with your creativity, okay, is a privilege that you must earn. Otherwise, if you cut their family, all it does is cause us trouble. You get what I'm saying? That's something some of our mentors don't really understand. And once in a while, I have to step in and say, I had to text Matthew, let them talk to the parents. I said, don't do that. It's going to cause trouble. Because people out there, they're not going to understand. Separating yourself from the world, they're not going to understand that. So you got to do it in a way that they don't even feel it and see that. So far, this problem, okay, it's caused by Wilkins. We handle it all wrong. It's a trouble that we brought upon ourselves. That's why when I decided to take over, I said, okay, Dash, Murr, you go and visit them in Michigan. You got to be undercover. You know what undercover means? They don't know that you're cutting them. Once they know that you're cutting them, that is wrong approach. You got to cut them without them knowing that you're cutting them. That means you got to meet with them. You got to talk to them in a way that they understand. Your friends, everybody. You follow me? So far, with the 2.0, your execution has been terrible. It takes diligence to be able to cut your friends and family out in a way that they don't even know that they've been cut out. Because that's what the Bible says, right? Separate yourself from them, right? Doing the word. But you do it lazy way, I'm just going to ignore them. Well, you can't. You can't ignore speeding tickets. You can't ignore family. They're not going to go away. All it does is bring attention to the church, and they're going to attack me. I'm just sharing the word, what the word says, I mean, the thing is, not only are you supposed to cut your family, you got to cut yourself. Every day, a production company wanting to do a document.
So she's talking about, he also believes that he and the dancers should be paid $50 million for a documentary. But it's interesting because what he's about to say is if anyone wants to do a documentary on them, they're going to pay for it. Like, they're not going to do it.
Entry series with our group. Every day we have an offer. And we're just saying pass, pass, pass. I'm not saying we're not going to do it. Okay? One day I think we'll do it. Okay? But show me the money. $50 million. Okay. We'll do it. Or maybe $100 million. Okay. But none of these independent docu-series. You want us to tell a story for $50 or a couple $1,000 or whatever? I said, no. If you want exclusive, you're gonna pay for exclusive. Okay? I'm a businessman. Okay? You want the truth, you have to pay for the truth. They may not show it, but it's okay. They're not trying to grab every ounce or every a chance to get their name in the paper in a cheap way. You get what I'm saying? Amen. Chaz and Ko did a little tape on a video.
So she extracted a lot from it. But again, it's very cut. It's very cut up. And I would need to hear it totally and utterly uncut for me to make a decision about anything regarding that. So it's just really bizarre. So yeah, so that's all I've got to say at the moment. And unless anyone else has got something else to talk about, there's been nothing on I'm barely on my computer at the moment. I've been living life. I'm really sorry to everybody, but you would have seen from my feeds that I've been doing stuff. And I've been living life, so it's yeah. I've not been on the computer a lot, trying to live life a little bit and get out and smell roses. Because about a week ago, my cousin, who's just 18 months older than myself, was killed in a motorcycle accident. Motorcycle accident. It was a head-on collision with a car. And I just realized how fragile life is and how it can be taken away at a moment's notice. And so it's really important to make every moment count. So that's what I've been trying to do. I haven't really been, caring about that YouTuber a lot because there's been other things that have been more important. Yeah. So it did make the news. I haven't seen any news on Reynolds or Higgins. I reckon that one's going to that must nearly be ready for judgment. That must nearly be ready for judgment because it's been a long time. Yeah. I'll find it for you. I'm going to share it with you. So it was 6 days ago. I'll just show you. This was the accident, and this. So I apologize. This could be very horrifying, because this was the picture taken at the scene. This is the photo from the scene. So you can see here. Let me try and make it full. I'll make it as full screen as I can. Okay, so you've got the car here, the ute here, and the bike, and the bike's in front of it. So the other driver had minor injuries. But that was and he's I believe he's under that tarp there, unfortunately. And then the day after, the police were asking for people to be very, very careful on the road, because there had been 6 deaths in 3 days or something on that day, like over that time period. And they just said it's just. So this was it was January the 30th. 50-year-old rider passed at the scene. The driver of the ute was 38 and was taken to hospital with minor injuries. So, yeah, so that happened last week. So that sort of knocked the wind out of me a little bit. That took me a few days to, because that was my cousin. That took me a few days to sort through that. So that's where I've been. I've been living life and just trying to make sense of the world. There's no, which I've quickly discovering there's no making sense of it. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'm going to leave it there. Replay crew, make sure you say hello. And thank you for joining me. And I will catch you next time. And I might go back to StreamYard, whatever I use again, but we'll see. I just thought I'd try something different. I'd seen that apparently you can now stream to TikTok on Restream. So that's really what I was looking at. All right. Catch you soon. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and tell me your views about whether you think Human Rights Watch is a reputable source, and whether you think sharing something from it should deem you to be that should get you the sack. As I said, this is what the court's all hearing at the moment about it. So it's very, very